Welcome to Break Through the Ordinary podcast. Are you ready to commit to your future self? If you are, sibling duo Marc and Claudine Chiarmonte will take you on a journey of self-discovery to unlock your highest potential. Through impactful conversations with entrepreneurs, thought leaders, coaches, and healers, we will share practical tools and strategies to generate the life you envision. New episodes drop every Monday.
And we get to welcome Donnie Desanti, who is a health and wellness coach, teaching people to lose weight and regain their energy naturally so they never diet again ever. Before coaching, he battled ADHD and medication before making changes in his diet and lifestyle. He has successfully been medication-free for almost 30 years. He also witnessed his mother go through a similar struggle clearing her breast cancer through holistic methods. She is now cancer-free for 20 years. It has become his passion to help others rescue their health and enjoy life to the fullest potential. And you can learn more about rescuing back your own health by connecting with him on Facebook at www.lifebalancetribe.com. And we'll have all of it in the show notes for you.
Yes. Well, welcome.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, you're welcome.
Nice to have you.
Our pleasure.
At least on screen.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, you touched in something in the bio about part of your journey, and perhaps maybe you could just elaborate a little bit more on the inspiration to become a health coach.
Yeah, sure, totally. Yeah, so growing up, I'm the oldest of three boys, but my parents didn't know any different. I was very not active, but very rambunctious. Had a tough time, sitting still in school. I think I was like the first in my first grade class to get detention, and this went on for years, right? Just a problem child. And it wasn't until fourth grade that I was diagnosed with ADHD, which back then it was kind of, you didn't see many kids. I think there was like one or two other kids in my class or even school, but now you see a lot more. It's very prominent. But since that diagnosis, I definitely felt broken and ashamed. I was put on medication. I didn't like the way they made me feel. And yeah, this went on for years, but on paper it was working. I was getting good grades, made the honor system, and so it was working. It wasn't until high school, though, that a woman came into our school and talked how she made changes. She was battling cancer and made some changes in her health through just natural methods. I'm talking about the food she was eating and lifestyle changes, and it really caught my attention, which was rare for an ADHD kid. And I was like, wow, if she's making these amazing results with her lifestyle and diet, maybe I could do the same with mine. And that's really what sparked the interest of health. Like, I thought to myself, what if I can make myself as healthy as possible? What could that do for me? Like, how can that change the way I thought and acted and felt? And that's really where it started. And little by little, I started making changes, whether it be, hey, removing sugar from my diet, because I knew that was a big trigger for me. I explored things like meditation, like are there ways to calm down my mind? Looked into like getting to sleep early. What does that do for me? Right. So it just started this, pretty much lifelong journey of health. And that really started this momentum where, I felt great and I didn't need the medication. But then I saw like other people had similar issues, not necessarily ADHD, but they battled with like, hey, how do I be healthy? How do I get healthy? And that's something we're not really taught really along the way. I mean, we know the basics, but it's really tough to make a lifestyle and something that lasts. I mean, we see the dieting world. I mean, there's hundreds of diets. How many people have tried those and they last and fail? And, so that just became a passion of mine of helping others, really kind of discover their own, health journey in a way.
Thank you.
So what's your philosophy? Like, how do you work with people? What's your philosophy in getting people healthy and changing their lifestyle? Like, what do you follow?
Yeah, I mean, that's I get that question a lot. Like, hey, what is the way? And there is no the way. I mean, you have to. We're individuals, right? We're all humans, but at an individual level, everyone's different, and it really comes down. You have to find what works for you, for your lifestyle, where you're at on the journey. And so I meet people where they're at. I know what works for me, but what works for me could be in a way poison for you, right? It just doesn't work. So I have to meet people where they're at, and that could be just simple things. I like to keep it simple, and And I'm all about adding things into the life rather than taking away. And this is, again, where a lot of diets go wrong, is because, I mean, you look at any diet, it's like, okay, stop doing this, stop doing that. It's all about restriction. And I think part of the reasons diets don't work, I mean, they work on paper and they work, people got results, but the reason they don't stick is because we get into this like restrictive mode. And a lot of people come into, a health journey with like restriction in mind. They're like, okay, we know all the bad things. Okay, I got to stop eating like ice cream and sweets and all these things, soda, and like we know that, right? But like anytime we get into like restrictive mode, now we're running on willpower, and willpower is a muscle that will burn out. We can't live a whole life. Life is long. We can't live a whole life on willpower. So my philosophy is like, okay, where are you at? Hey, what if we just started like adding more water to your day? What if you drank more water? And just that simple thing is like, it's kind of like, it's like an aha moment for people. Like, wow, I've had clients who are like, we just focus on water for a week, and they're like, wow, I realized I haven't drank like a glass of water in years, right? And that's, I mean, listen, a survival situation, we can go weeks without food, but water, we can only go a few days and things start tanking. And people have lost like, we've been bombarded with so many things of like things to drink that we forgot like one of our necessities to life is water, right? It makes up about 97% of our body, and we've kind of forgotten about that. And so just by adding these little things in, okay, cool, you're hydrated again. What can we add to your plate now to make it a little healthier with like the food you're already eating? We're not trying to like revamp your whole diet right now. Can we add a little bit, maybe some greens to some veggies to that sandwich you're eating, right? So we're meeting them where they're at. You're having fried chicken. Wait, what if we add some veggies to that, right? Or maybe bake the chicken, right? So, and what happens is little by little, those little, wins, they start to add up to, life-changing results, where people are like, wow, I can do this, and so that's my philosophy. It's all about finding what works for that person, and little by little start adding into their life instead of taking away.
I have to say, I just want to say that makes so much sense because people are overwhelmed. I mean, think about it, especially now in COVID. So to take little simple steps like that is a beautiful thing because it doesn't overwhelm you. It's like, okay, drink water. I mean, great.
Yeah. I want to speak into the fact that I am a graduate of one of your coaching programs, Be a Better Human. And I will tell you the things that we worked on are still in my life. And I don't know how many more months ago that I graduated, right? I bike 4 to 5 days a week still. My Pilates is my other piece, right? The idea of the water, right? It was like I'm a coach, a life coach, and it was right. One of the little wins was a session, a glass of water, and that was my way of keeping it's still my way of keeping my water intake. So I appreciated, right? Like it was customized to me. Not that you wouldn't say water for everybody, but I needed to find a way in my lifestyle that I could get that water in and not be a neglected item. And that has really, and having a container that I carry with me that I knew this is what I needed to pour out and get through in a day. But your philosophy is the singles.
Yeah, right. Get on base, right? That's all we're trying to do each day, just get on base, right? And I think that's another problem too, like, right? So, Mark, you mentioned like it's overwhelming, right? You go online, it's like someone's trying to get healthy, and they look, and it's like, where do I start? And there's so much information, right? And people are trying to come out of the gate like hitting home runs, and I always say like, who's got the most strikeouts in baseball? Typically home run hitters, right? It's because it's just not going to happen overnight. It's all about like getting on base each day, getting those singles, and those singles add up to runs, and runs wins games, right? So I love to hear that, Claude, is that that win for you, it's stuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's become a habit, and that's ultimately what I want, for people.
Yeah. At the end of my day, I know the singles, right? And I can tell you that philosophy came from your group and from you. And it also has been things that stuck and hitting, like I have Post-its, and one of them is one session, one glass of water, and the other is singles, not home runs. And so at the end of my day, do I get a run in base? I do, right? I get my 2 walks in, I get a walk in, I get a bike ride, or like they all kind of come together to create some optimal health there. Can you speak into some myths that people have about, like you just said, like the idea, like we want to go out there and get home runs, but is there some other myths that we have around food and health that have also kept us kind of locked into a paradigm that may not be supporting us?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I was just having this conversation last night with a client. I think one of the myths, right, is we've been told when we're supposed to eat. I think that's a myth. Like we've been set where breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Lunch is at noon, dinner, the sun goes down, we eat. And, you know, I'm slowly, well, not slowly, but I'm seeing it's just not true, right? Because we're seeing people, I've worked with clients who are like, they're just not hungry in the mornings, and, breakfast is just not right for them. But we've been told that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Like where along the way did we learn this? And this goes back to, like, we have to find what's right for you, right? And I think the problem is we've been told when to eat. And I always say, like, the best thing you can do for your health is to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, right? But yet we've been told when to eat. Like, oh, it's noon, it's lunchtime, you have to eat. It's like, but I'm not really hungry. Oh, well, it's lunchtime. And I had this client where dinner, he finds he's not really hungry, but it's like this tough time of the night where, like, he feels like the day's unraveling for him. He has no control, and it's really around dinner, like, he feels like he's forcing himself to eat because he doesn't want to go to sleep hungry, or he doesn't want to eat too late. He, like, struggles. So I'm like, well, what if you didn't eat dinner, right? What if you got all your calories in during the day, right? And it's such like I mean, how often do you hear that, right? And it's like, well, what if we condense our eating and then just eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, right? So I think that's one of the myths. And we've been told, like, hey, eat sporadically throughout the day. Like, how many different ways have we heard, like, when to eat? Like, you have to eat every 2 hours, small meals, or your big meal is the first thing in the day, and all these things. And I think, again, going back to just listening to ourselves, like, what works for us, like, eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. Again, we're kind of giving power back to ourselves. And I think it's just, again, kind of a simple thing, but it kind of goes against what we've been told, right? So
I love the idea of connecting back to our own wisdom.
Mhm.
Right? Because we tend to go outside, like Google. What's that say I should do? Versus, okay, what does the temple say? Okay, hungry. Okay, or not.
Yeah, I've been noticing. I've been doing intermittent fasting, like 4 or 5 days at least a week, and I realize if I look at it, my body doesn't even get hungry till 2:00. It just doesn't. And if it does, I'll eat earlier, but it's usually 2 to 3:00. And I just want to go back to when you hit singles. I was thinking, what a philosophy for life, not just food. Like hitting singles everywhere in life. Instead of, everybody wants to make the million. Let's start at 10,000, 5,000, $1. I just thought it was a great philosophy. For our listeners, what are, like, some small changes people can make in their relationship, with food and, and their health?
Yeah, I mean, good question. I mean, around food, that's something that's always my goal with clients, is like, I want them to change the way they look at food, because I feel like I always have people coming to me, and there's an unhealthy relationship with food, right? And you see this a lot in the dieting world, is that, food is the enemy. It's like, it's kind of like we curse it, like, I hate that I'm eating this, or I hate the way this makes me feel. And it's almost like, well, we have to eat, but it's at the same time, they're trying to starve themselves because they feel food is the enemy. And I try to change the relationship with food, as food is something that gives us life. Food is information, it's energy, it's medicine. It's something that brings us joy. And I mean, think about it, that all the the big kind of celebrations in your life, obviously there's been people there that you love, but there's also been food, right? Whether it be, marriages, birthdays, right? Your first date, might have been like sharing food, right? Like, food was there. So it should be something that we enjoy doing, and something that we look forward to doing. And that's hard for a lot of people, because we look at it as the problem. And yes, it could be like, at some sort, there is, we have, I mean, food has changed so drastically in the last 100 years that we're not really even eating food anymore. We're eating food like products. right? But when we change it to start eating real food again, there's this enjoyment again, like wow, I can eat this and eat as much of it as I want. It's like, yeah, go get after it, And that's just something that people aren't really used to hearing. And when you do that, you look forward to it. You're like, wow, I'm eating this. I love it. Like, so many people come back to me like, wow, that meal I made is so good. Like, I crave veggies, and I can't believe I made this, and my family enjoys it. And it's like, and there's no guilt to it, right? And there's enjoyment around it. And wow, I feel good. I look good, So I think, just changing the mentality around it and looking again, trying to get back to eating like real food again, where we try to like limit the processed food. I think that starts to change just our perception of food. So again, that starts with small wins, okay, just pick one meal during the day that like you're going to do the best you can to make it as healthy as possible, as much real food on there as possible. Start there. And what happens, maybe that builds like, wow, I like this tastes good, I feel good. Maybe that moves to another meal a day, right? Or maybe you're just cooking one meal for the family and that's it, right? So again, that just goes by little adding more real food. And again, it's always going to come back to like adding things to your life, right? We all know the things that that aren't working for us, but sometimes they're hard to remove. But what if I add these things in and they start to crowd out a lot of the things that aren't working for you?
That's a good philosophy, right? Crowd out.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a father, husband, and I know you have younger children, how do you incorporate your philosophy into not just your life, because I know you're committed to it, but into your family's culture?
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's the next stage of my kind of health journey. It's that's something I've kind of embraced, and it's not always easy. My kids have been my science experiment in a way. God bless them. They're starting to catch on though now. They're a lot more resistant. But I do the best I can, and I if anything, I tell this to a lot of parents. I feel like the health of our nation, our country, our world is always going to be taken back in the home, right? And it's going to start with the parents. And so I feel the best way I can do is lead by example, and do the best I can. And then, again, like, where can I sneak things in? My kids, like, can I get them into that? Or it doesn't always work, but, little by little, can I, let me control what they're eating now as best as I can by, hey, this is what we're eating as a family. I'm a big fan of the family meal. I feel like that's become a lost tradition. We eat on the run, we eat to go, we eat in front of the TV, and just a sit down meal is almost, I don't want to say become extinct, but it's become kind of lost under the rug at times. And I think that's a big part of it, eating together, eating the same things together, letting your kids be part of what you're eating, getting them in the kitchen as much as you can, like preparing their own foods, and keeping them active, right, as much as you can. When they see you're active, they want to be involved. I've just noticed that, and vice versa. So, maybe ask me in a couple more years, but it's an experiment still in the works. I think it's a never-ending experiment, but I think I'm doing a good job. My kids seem healthy, and again, it's never 100%. It's never 100%. But you learn, you hit those singles, and I feel like they add up to runs.
I remember you sharing with us, like, there are so many other ways to also bring nutritional, I'm going to use the word additives. I don't mean it from a negative, like, this has got a little shake of this particular item adds protein, or, right, this ingredient helps them with any, inflammation. Are you still doing that? I can't recall what it was, but in the hot chocolate, you were like, I would sprinkle this on top.
A little turmeric or something.
As a way, kind of just build it into their food.
Totally.
Are you still finding that pathway of what their taste buds will allow at this point?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No, I was actually just thinking that the other day. I forget what I was making. We were having taco night, and I was making some ground meat or something like that. But, putting all these spices in there. I mean, spices, like, that's like our lost medicine cabinet. All this, the benefits of spices, like you mentioned, turmeric. I mean, huge anti-inflammatory, and then you got like the pepper is great for the cardiovascular system, and cinnamon for balancing blood sugars, right? So, but at the same time, it makes your food taste delicious, right? And I think that's also a mistake that a lot of people, when they're trying to get healthy, they just don't know how to flavor up their food and make it taste good, right? So, by sneaking all these things in, I feel like I'm making the food taste good, that my kids enjoy it, but I'm also sneaking up in some extra, nutrition in there as well that they might not get every day, right? So, yeah, definitely guilty of that, and they don't even know what I'm putting in there, But yeah, there's ways to do that, right? You're looking to upgrade all these meals, right? Maybe get some healthy fat in there for the kids, for their brain development. Maybe some some avocado or guacamole in there, right? But they love that, some spices just for their immune system, especially now. I'm always kind of sneaking things in there to help support their immune system, back in school and all that. So I'm always trying to think like that, and hopefully, it works. So.
Now I want to know, what are the booster for the immune system?
We all need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take the ideas.
Yeah. I mean, it's always going to be back to real food, as much as possible, just keeping the diet as clean as possible, try to limit the sugars. I mean, sugar's a big one, especially for kids. It definitely takes a toll on the immune system. Sleep is very underrated. Trying to get them to sleep, for all of us, I feel like just getting to sleep at a decent hour does amazing things for our immune system. On top of that, I sneak some other supplements in there, some vitamin D in their water. I give them this this honey kind of spray. It's very rich in what's called propolis, which is a huge antioxidant. It's great for their immune system. Maybe a little black elderberry in there, great for the immune system as well. So these little things there just to kind of keep them a little robust immune system, and sprinkling in there some fermented foods, good for the gut system and the bugs, maybe some probiotics, so. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Some of the things you're mentioning are like superfoods, I think. Can you explain what they are and why are they called superfoods?
Yeah, totally. Superfoods, kind of a big buzzword. I feel we hear that a lot as kind of like a marketing term. First off, superfoods, it's not really a scientific category. It's kind of like a made up term, but there is this category of foods that seem to be at a higher quality of nutritional level than maybe your average kind of everyday foods, right? And some of these foods may be a little bit more exotic in names, maybe coming from different, areas of the world that you might not just normally get. But, the nutritional profile of them seems to be very nutritionally dense, whether it be, very overall profile of like proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, or more micronutrient levels, right? Like more antioxidants, more immune boosting qualities, right? So, some of these superfoods could consist of things like some mushrooms. Like mushrooms, there's certain strains of mushrooms like reishi and lion's mane that have shown to have super high levels of nutrients, even some therapeutic levels, great for brain activity, even immune boosting qualities. We have things like algae, and many of the other sea vegetables have shown to have very high nutritional profiles. And when I say this nutritional profile, it's like, we might think just like proteins and fats and carbs, but it's more, it's a different level than that, more like micronutrient level. And this is something that we're missing very much in our diet and our lifestyles, overall, just the standard diet. We are suffering on a nutritional level. We are very deficient in a lot of, nutrients, just because the food we eat is just it's dead, right? We're eating a lot of dead food, a lot of nutritionally dead food. So adding things in like superfoods can just really give the body, that support and maybe help, fill in those deficiencies to help us just feel better, have better energy, sleep better, and even maybe support like metabolism and losing weight. So, yeah, superfoods is that category. I think they're great to add into already, sound diet, right? I wouldn't maybe throw someone into like superfoods and be like, hey, pick up some blue green algae, and people are like, well, I'm struggling with broccoli right now, and it's like, okay, cool, well, like, get the basics down, get a strong foundation, and then see where you can kind of layer in like these superfoods, see where they fit in, right? And just to kind of take your diet to that next level, take your nutrition to that next level. But I do think they play a role, and I do think they're great for a just optimal diet and lifestyle.
Mm. I'm kind of curious, is what you said about, right, a lot of our food is nutritionally dead or not as rich as it used to be. How would someone go about finding out the profile that they may need, right? Like saying, right, we get to add a little of this, even if we can't find it in our foods, maybe we need supplements, but right, like you said, like, oh, you could use a little blue algae, or maybe we need to build up
Yeah.
this area. Is there a recommendation you would have?
Yeah. So, how do you know, like, what are you deficient in, right?
Mhm.
Again, I think it's gonna come down to, like, okay, let's set up a strong foundation first, right? Like, let's cover the basics. Let's get you drinking more water. Okay, let's start cleaning up your diet, adding in more real foods, right? Because people feel like crap, and then they're like, well, what do I need? What pill do I take? What deficient do I have? But it's amazing when we just fill in the basics that we start to feel better, right? Like, people are lacking energy, but when we start to clean up their diet, remove a lot of the processed foods, the sugars, they start to feel good, right? So I think the main, where you need to start is, like, okay, let's just clean up the diet, let's get a strong foundation, and then see how we feel. A lot of the times, like, that's enough, and people are like, I feel amazing, I feel great. And then you could start kind of tapping into, like, okay, what do I need a little bit more of? Am I getting sick a lot? Maybe I do need some immune boosting nutrients, right? Am I still lacking energy? Maybe there is some B vitamin deficiencies. I'm having trouble sleeping, or there's a lot of stress. Maybe you do need some more nervous system support, maybe some magnesium or vitamin D, right? So then you can start playing around with that. And then there'd be, like, the next level, right? Like, getting some kind of, like, blood work done, getting some kind of, like a nutritional blood panel done, where you can see, hey, you're deficient in vitamin D, your B vitamins are here, maybe your hormones are off, right? Then you can get super specific and kind of tailor things to your needs. But I think it's going to start with that foundation. Like, fix the foundation first, and then see where you need to fill in the gaps. And again, I think a lot of people, they go to the pill first, they go to supplements. Okay, what can I take to feel better? But that's the wrong approach, because supplements are there to supplement the diet, to help fill in the cracks of the diet. They shouldn't be the main source. If you're taking all these supplements, but you're still eating like garbage, you're not putting the right fuel in the tank. And it's just not going to run efficiently, right? So it's always going to start at that strong foundation of, real food, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
Earlier you said something about active with your kids, and I know you're active and stuff. So what do you suggest for, our listeners to start getting active or creating that healthy physical, life?
Yeah, great question. And that's the thing I think a lot of people struggle with, right? So let me backpedal. I think that a lot of people struggle with time. Okay, especially when they're on a health journey, the biggest struggle is time. Like, I don't have time to cook a healthy meal. I don't have time to exercise. I have to stay up late because I'm lacking time to get things done, and they're sacrificing their sleep. So it comes back to around time. And then when we're talking of getting active and exercising, people feel like they need more time than they actually do. So again, it's going to go back to those singles. Like, I don't know where along the way, this could be another myth, but along the way that we've been programmed, like, you need an hour to work out, right? And we've also been kind of hammered home, like, get to the gym, right? The gym is where we do exercise. The gym is where we stay active, which is pretty sad, because if you think about it, if the average person goes to the gym, okay, I'll give them maybe 4 or 5 times a week for an hour, and then they're just sitting at their desk all day for the rest of the week. That's 4 to 5 hours of activity for the whole week, right? Which is nothing, and that's being generous. Not everyone's getting to the gym for 5 times a week.
No,
Yeah, right. Maybe 3, right? So that's in a whole week. That's nothing. My philosophy is, like, where can we just find ways to be more active in our lives? What if we just set aside 10 minutes for ourselves and just did something for 10 minutes, maybe some body weight exercises, maybe just go for a walk. I mean, walking is very underrated, right? We feel like we need to, and this is another thing with, like, exercise, we feel like we need to, like, destroy ourselves, like, punish ourselves, like, burn this extra weight off. And it's just not the case. We want to support our body. We want to feel strong. We want to stay fit. And just by moving our body more, it becomes a lifestyle, and it's not this thing that like I have to do. It's something I want to do because I feel good with it. And so just starting again with like 10 minutes. Like, what if in the morning, 10 minutes, you just did something for yourself to get you in that state of feeling fit and get the blood flowing, whether it be a walk or some stretching or just some body weight exercise, anything. Think about that. 10 minutes a day, 7 days a week. That's going to add up, right? And then from there, you can add more things in. Maybe you do get to the gym. Maybe you play with your kids and run around, right? You can do a lot in 10 to 20 minutes, right? That you don't need a whole hour at the gym for. And that's definitely something I relearned in this past, with COVID and the lockdown where gyms were shut down. It's like, okay, cool. I can't go to the gym anymore. What do I do to stay fit? And it was amazing, like what I could get done in like 10 minutes. Right. So, and then it's also too, like finding ways to add movement back to our lives, right? Like we've made our lives so convenient. Like these things listen, I love them. They're great, but we've made our lives so convenient that we've also taken the workout of life, where we can literally survive from these things, where we can find our shelter, our food, literally from the comfort of our homes. So we don't have to work for anything anymore. But that doesn't mean, listen, I'm all about that. But with that also comes a sacrifice that we've lost movement in our lives. We become sedentary beings, and we're not. We're moving beings. So, where can we move more in our lives? Could we take the stairs? Could we park a little farther away? Could we walk to get our food? Could we ride a bike to get our food? Right? Could we earn our food? Right? I think you remember, Claude, like earn the couch. Right? Yep. Did you earn the couch today? Right? I mean, that's cool. Watch your TV, but did you earn it? Did you move a little bit to get that? Earn your meals, right? Mm-hmm. Like meals. I mean, we have so much access to food. I mean, we can get food at a gas station, right? There's no like earning calories anymore. There's no earning food anymore. It just comes to us wherever we go, right? And maybe some people not as easy, but the access to food has become very easy, that we don't have to work for it anymore. So, I always try to encourage, like, where can you just find more movement in your day, whether it be play or scheduled exercise or scheduled movement. There's always place for it.
Yeah. And I'm going to just say, when people start following you on Facebook, at Donnie Desanti, or I believe that's your personal page or your group page, is you always are walking your walk. And that's what I really have appreciated about you as a health coach, is I see you you're doing the dips in the playground. Your kids are playing and you're doing the body weight exercises or lunges because you have 5 minutes while you're watching your kids play. Yeah. Like, okay, so I could be active too when they're being active, right? Or the idea that you're, surfing with your kids, or, skating with there's that coexistence. So it's not just them and I sit and watch as a passive parent. You're like, okay, like, where can we, also just incorporate it? And you really seem to find that blend and walk that walk.
I appreciate that.
Acknowledge you.
Well, that's part of the jungle gym. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, playgrounds are great workout areas. I mean, not just for kids, but for adults too. I mean, there's so much you could do there, right? It's like, why waste the time?
Yeah. I want to just ask about sustained change. Right, we're talking about, right, the high intensity workouts, the incorporating of nutrition, and the myth busting. Over time, do you have any suggestions for our listeners about the sustained over time piece? Because I think what we've seen and what makes the diet industry so wealthy is because it's a cycle. Like I said earlier, people go out and I'm going to lose all this weight. Well, once we're done with it, right, from restriction, we know that, right? 80% of people regain weight. Is there any suggestions you would have to, again, in your philosophy and your approach, that, the sustain the long run?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the problems we're having right now, right? With taking back our health, is we're just not creating sustainability, right? Like, and that creates frustration, and ultimately people just like, okay, whatever. But it's going to come down to the individual, right? And they have to, whatever approach that is, and wherever they're at, they have to ask themselves, like, well, first off, am I enjoying this? Right? If you're not enjoying it, more than likely it's just not going to last. And another thing is, can I see myself doing this, a year from now, 2 years from now, even 10 years from now? Do I see the way I'm going right now? Can I maintain this? And there's a no in either one of these. It's time to pivot and shift to something that I don't want to say necessarily easier, but something that because there is going to be work involved, obviously, but something that you see like, okay, I can do this. And yes, listen, there's never going to be 100%. I always say that. Claude, you've heard me say that, like there's never 100%, but can I bounce back into this in what I'm doing, right? There's going to be those days you fall off, maybe a couple of days, maybe even a week, but can I just bounce right back to what I was doing and keep that going? Because again, those singles add up, and that time starts to add up. Those weeks turn into months and months into years, and next thing you know, you look back, you're like, wow, I don't even recognize that person anymore, right? But that's going to come to, yes, there's a commitment involved, but there's got to be a little wiggle room in what you're doing. It can't be, so restrictive that it's just not practical. And there has to be some kind of enjoyment and a flow to it that you're like, okay, I can see this. There's got to be some practicality to it too. Like, let's be realistic. It's like, I don't know, doing a, CrossFit high intensity interval training, realistic for someone who has like 3 kids, trying to manage everything and run a business and, doesn't sleep at night? Probably not. I mean, you might feel good the first couple of weeks, but can you maintain that? Right. Or a restrictive diet where everyone else in the family is not on board, and they're eating like garbage, and they have ice cream all the time and candy and this and that. And they're just tempted all the time, going into like this, I don't know, ketogenic diet or vegan diet. Does that make sense? Is that, could you make that work? Right. So, I think it's going to come back to the individual. I guess I'm a little biased, but getting guidance helps. Getting a coach to help you along the way to build this lifestyle, to build what works for you, I feel like helps a lot too, because they can kind of sift through a lot of the noise and maybe some of the things that aren't working for them. Like, hey, why are you doing this? You're banging your head against the wall. It's not working for you. You keep falling off from it. Like, why you keep doing it? What if you shift and went this way instead? Like, wow, I never thought of that. I never saw that. So there's a couple of things there, but I think it's going to come back to like, hey, do you enjoy it? Could you see yourself doing this for a few years to come?
Yeah. Is there any mindset hacks that you'd also suggest in that? Like, again, it's individual, and you're right. Blind spots are our own blind spots. why we go into coaching. Is there also some mindsets that could also support that?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, where do I begin with that? I mean, mindset is everything. It really is. And I feel a lot of this is you can't exclude the mindset part of this. And I think a lot of people do. I mean, yeah, it's like, cool, I'm getting healthy, I'm working out a lot, but I still kind of have this negative dialogue, or I still, I'm stressed out, or just the language I'm having with myself is just not there. And, that's a big part of it. I think to anything, 70%, 80% of it is mindset. Right. And I think that's going to be a personal thing too, like what works for you and really strengthening that mindset. Listen, it goes back to just like everything we've been discussing, the water, the food, the exercise. We do these things to fuel our body and to keep us fit. We got to do the same things for our mind every day, right? This is a muscle we got to work, right? And we can't like just jump out into the world and try taking on the things that life's throwing at you without a strong mindset and without working that mindset. No one's going to the gym the first time at the gym and trying to lift 225. You got to work up to that. You got to strengthen yourself. And the same goes with mindset, whether that be, listen, I'm a big fan of meditation, whether that be journaling or, reading other people's information through books or podcasts like your own, right? It's fueling your mindset with this food, this information to strengthen it. And I think it's crucial. It's super crucial. And again, this year showed it. It showed the mindset of a lot of people, and it's still showing it. Like, you had to have a strong mindset to get through the past year or two, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that even hammered home even more, like, I got to be working on the mindset. I got to be doing that I got to get the daily singles in with the mindset as well. So, I think there's a lot of things a person can be doing, and I think it should be part of, hey, eating well, exercising, doing all those things. I think the mindset part should be in there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for speaking into that.
We agree.
Mm-hmm.
So we always do a challenge, a call to action for our listeners, because we want, and just so people know, we want you to be a participant. We want you to be active in this, not just give you information and tools, but something you actually do in your life. Like, let's be participatory. Like, get into it. So you've brought a lot of stuff, so it's really defining maybe exercise or doing some kind of movement or adding a certain food. Do you have any ideas? What?
Yeah, wow, I could throw a lot of things out there, but I think for the listeners, I'm gonna leave it up to them and say one thing, just one thing. Pick one thing, and just do it every day. But start small, right? Don't try to go for the home run. Find one small thing that what I can do that you can consistently do, and that could be something. I'll throw a couple suggestions out. That could be something simple as you wake up in the morning, 1 glass of water, okay, every morning. Okay, simple thing, feet hit the ground, have a glass of water. Okay, simple, right? I think no one would deny that. One simple thing, go to bed 15 minutes earlier every day. One thing, okay? 15 minutes, not a lot, but add that up throughout the week. Everyone complains about, like, I'd love to get more sleep. Add that up, 15 minutes throughout the week, you're almost looking at like another hour of sleep, okay? Just one thing, move. Okay, move. Just find some place you can move. 10 minutes. Set your timer. 10 minutes. Just do something, whatever it is. Go for a walk. 10 minutes. Okay, one thing. Make that your one thing throughout the week, right? Food wise, just find one meal that you can make healthy or somewhat healthy, or find one thing that you could add to the meals that you already have. Whether it be, I don't know, whatever you're eating for dinner. Maybe you can add one vegetable to that, right? And just focus on one thing you could do each day. Right. But the thing is consistency. Consistency trumps everything. Right. Can you do that every day for 7 days? Okay. And then at the end of 7 days, see how you feel. Right. And maybe add one more thing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like tiny habits.
Yeah. Like that glass of water, I put it on my nightstand before bed. So I know in the morning when I wake up, first thing, boom.
Beautiful habit.
Do that. Simple.
Yeah.
That's great. So everybody knows one simple thing.
And our listeners can pick their one thing and post about that on our Facebook page, the BTO podcast. Thank you.
And we join in too, by the way.
Yes, that's going to be ours.
So we love it too.
Awesome. Love it.
All right.
Love it.
So quick fire questions. What does God mean to you?
Ooh, okay, God. God is that life force that runs through all of us. And it's something that we tap into every day, whether we know it or not. But I do think it is a just all present, everywhere present force that runs through us all, through all things.
Thank you.
Thank you. So what habits or routines do you have every day? What are your habits and routines?
Great question. So some things, listen, I try to practice what I preach. I have the water every morning when I wake up. It's kind of like my morning shower, my morning internal shower. So I always rehydrate first thing in the morning, no matter what. I try to get some reading in every day, at least 5 to 10 pages of something, again, for that mindset to kind of fuel something I learn. I try to teach myself something every day, whether it be 5 to 10 pages. I try to get some movement in, and it's not every day, but it's again 10 minutes of exercising, strength training, somewhere. Just try to move every day. I try to get some kind of green drink in every day, or some kind of smoothie, just kind of pack it full of nutrients. So those are a couple of things. Getting to sleep early is a big one for me too. After 10:30, I turn into like a pumpkin, and so sleep is pretty crucial, which is hard with 2 kids. But I feel like sleep is that golden thread that binds all health together. So I try to be a real stickler with my sleep. Those are some of the things that come together. I mean, Meditation is a big one too, especially right now. I'm really I'm trying to do 75 days of straight meditation. But meditation is a big part of that. I'm a big in the morning routine. I feel like the best way to tackle your day and seize your day is what you do first thing in the morning. So it's about creating that little routine in the morning that just gets you in that state of feeling good. So, a couple of those things, they really help.
Mm. Who had the greatest impact on you, influence on you, becoming the person you are, and why?
Good question. I don't know if I can have just one.
Okay.
Family, I would say recently, my wife is a huge influence. She's always pushing me to be my best, which I love her for that. And then even more recently, my kids, I think different stages of life, right? Like family growing up, huge influence on me. And then, being in a marriage, a totally new journey. And my wife has been a huge influence on me. And now even in this next journey with my kids, they're a huge influence in this stage of my journey. So, I would say the combination of those three.
Thank you.
So, Donnie Desanti, what is your superpower?
Superpower. Woo. That's a good question. I think I love what I do. I have a passion for what I do. And I think when it comes to health, I think I have a certain gift that, at times I feel like it's intuitive in a way, just like it's this connection with health and helping people feel their best. And I love connecting with people on that. And I think this passion has turned into a gift in a way, so it's just everything around health that's related to health and feeling our best and really, really pushing ourselves to be our best. And I love that about myself, where I'm never, I don't want to say happy where I'm at, but it's never content. It's always like, great. I reached this level. I'm ready for that next level. And I'm always looking to push myself to be better so that I can show up better, for the people I help. So I think that's a superpower of mine, that to never settle where I'm at, to just keep going, and no matter age. And I think that's another thing too, is like we've been told, like, oh, you're getting to that age, or oh, you'll see when you get to that age. It's like, no, I want to change that dialogue. I feel like I'm just getting started. So
forget that myth. I gave that myth away.
Nice, love it.
I feel
you have.
great.
Yeah, you have.
Yes.
You look great.
You've dropped a lot of great nuggets with us today, and I want to ask you if there's any last wisdom, strategies, or tips that you would like to share with our listeners, and so they get to also, embody a little bit more of the Donnie Desanti wisdoms.
Just enjoy the journey. Wherever you're at is where you need to be. Love your body. It's the greatest gift. It's your muse, right? It's the greatest utensil. The greatest tool you've been given to enjoy this life, right? By taking care of it, this life opens up, right? There's just when you're feeling your best, when your body's on fire and you're energized, it's life just opens up. It's just different, and it's more vibrant, and we can experience so much more. And I think, that's what I want for the human experience, is to just see what's out there. And I think it does start with just feeling your best. And that goes back to, like, again, it doesn't have to be overnight. It can just be like, start at the next moment, start with the next meal, start the next day, start tonight, go to sleep a little earlier, and what can you do tomorrow? And you'll start to see your body will start to wake up, and you'll start to feel this energy and vibrance in your body that you'll want to do more things. You'll want to experience more things in life, right? Health is contagious, and we seek out people who feel good and look good, and it's because we want that. Because when we feel our best, we want to do our best, and we want to see what else life has to offer, right? So I guess that's my parting words.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hear that. Enjoy the journey. It's a beautiful one, yes.
Yes.
And so I appreciate your time tonight and connecting with us and sharing.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a
so
pleasure.
So many pieces and nuggets.
It was wonderful.
Yes.
I'm hitting singles. Going for singles.
It's a great philosophy.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
And choose your heart. That's the other piece.
Choose
Earn
your
your
heart.
couch, choose your heart.
Yes, earn the couch.
Yeah, earn the couch. I
Earn
like
the
that.
couch
Gotta
is a
earn it.
really good
Oh,
one.
yeah.
It gets me to walk before I sit down for
There you go.
TV. It's really like, even if it's 10 minutes or it's the really long one for 45, it's some form of movement before I decide to pick up a remote control. And say that has been another sustaining shift in working with you. So
Well, I love
thank
to
you.
hear that. I love to hear that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Oh, wow,
Yep.
that's great.
Yes. So thank you. And I want to thank everyone for listening to Break Through the Ordinary podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode and our deep dive into well-being and the wisdom of our body so you can live an extraordinary life. If you'd like to support the podcast, please leave a rating and share it with others on social media. And to catch the latest episodes, follow us at the BTO Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.